Okay. Well, that's certainly a thing you can say, for sure. Friends, welcome. We're here. What are we here for? The 22nd episode of King Arthur Pendragon, the Great Pendragon Campaign. Using the 5.2 rules, because the 6.0 rules are out, but not really, only kind of. And I'm not mad about it, or malding in any way. Before we started this episode, I kicked on my Molten hosting server and was trying to figure out where the game was before I remembered that it's been so long. We actually use Roll20 to play this. Because I had already uploaded all the maps and character data long ago for my other 3 King Arthur Pendragon campaigns. So that is a preface to the idea that it has been almost 2 months since we've had an episode. Remain calm. We're gonna have to get back into the swing of things. How about Glimo just teleported? All right, I know you're seeing it. I know you're seeing it with me. He's teleporting. He's switching cameras. He's doing magic, and we don't like that here.
Push the wrong button.
I learned something today while reading the King Arthur Pendragon Great Pendragon Campaign book, that Vivienne, who's a character we're not going to meet for a bit, and Merlin both have to remain lifelong virgins in order to use magic. That's canon to the book, which is not canon to Merlin, because there are many stories of Merlin fucking around. Wild, absolutely crazy. And Greg Stafford included a little post-Merlin fan fiction of what happens to Merlin after he gets trapped in the Crystal Cave, or in this case, the tree, or whatever. I'm probably going to do something different because I've read the Crystal Cave and it's not good. It's bad. It's a bad story. And the tree is also stupid as well. Who wants to live the rest of their life in a tree? What are we? Wookiees? Ewoks? Elves? None of us like that. None of us like any of those species either. Okay, some people like Wookiees.
I was going to say, Wookiees are pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, Wookiees are okay, but if you've seen the holiday special, Wookiees are also weird as hell.
Sure. There's definitely a point in this campaign where all the NPCs are like, oh, Merlin's going, he'll never come back again. And my players are all like, no, he's always around. He'll be back. And I also thought as a GM, like, no, he'll be back. And then I sort of like did a Control F on Merlin, and no, Merlin did not appear in e-pages past that point in the campaign guide.
I mean, historically, there's a number of reasons, but yeah, Merlin just appears at some point. I mean, look, it would be hard to get to the Battle of Camlin and Merlin still be around and just be like, oh, look, it's Sonny Boy, it's Mordred over there, kapow! You know what I mean? Like,
cast Fireball.
Yeah. Merlin cannot be present for the large battles necessary. I mean, just imagine Mordred trying to take over the throne of England while Merlin's in the throne room. He's just like, oh, you want to become a frog, little boy? Okay, here we go. That's all I'm saying. You have to get Merlin out of the picture. He's too powerful. So you make him really horny and have him fuck around with a witch, and then the witch is like, I'm tired of you fucking around with me. And he goes, okay, well, I'm leaving now. I'm gonna be a cool cat. And she's like, no, you're never leaving. The Crystal Cave is weird, guys. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's almost like we've got intros again. The year is 496. And some real stuff has happened, y'all. Some real stuff has happened. I want to thank Glimo subbing right when we got started. I didn't even notice it. So it is just and right that we start with Glimo. You are seated at a Are you? Oh, Jesus, I don't even remember who you're playing anymore. You're playing Knead now, right? You're still Knead is still alive at this point.
At least until the start of this episode, he is still alive.
Look, it's easy to remember Spoon's character. That's all I'm saying, because he's still alive.
The only OG left kicking.
You are seated, looking out of a rare glass window in the mansion. It is dark and gray. The sun does not shine. Frost still alights the ground in some places. Winter is breaking, but not yet broken. The chill is in the air, and you can see your breath even inside the house, what with being so close to the slightly frozen, perhaps you would say frosted window, when you hear a knock at your study door, and one of the new servants says, "Excuse me, my lord, Sir Kenid. There is a visitor to see you."
And who would that be?
He claims to be a squire of Sir Santoro.
I see.
He has come bearing a message under the sign of peace.
Very well.
Shall
Send him
I
in.
send him away?
No, send him in. I will hear his message.
Just his head. Just send his head away.
A boy that you do not recognize, 16 years of age. He's got the look of a teenage young man who's like not yet an adult, the dirty, not coming in facial hair, this sort of slightly fatty face, but he's big. You know, he's starting to put on the muscle and the weight. He comes in, he has a short sword that is sheathed, and the sheath is peace-bound so that the sword cannot be easily drawn, and a shield, which he lays by the door, and he goes down to one knee and says, "My lord Kenid, I am Brodin, the first squire of Sir Santoro. I come bearing a message, requesting a duel."
A duel, you say?
He raises his head up and says, "Yes, my lord. He bids me to say to you that when the winter breaks, if you would meet him in a week's time with a retinue and any friends you would bring, you will meet him at Burcombe. The two of you will joust 3 lances and then finish this on foot. The winner shall maintain control of this mansion and the bloodline and re-swear their loyalty to the Countess. The loser will respect the sovereignty of the other's children, and it will be done. This contest, this taking of towns will be done. My lord also bids to say thousands will result in your failure to adhere to this battle. Thousands will die. Thousands of good men will die if you refuse to answer the call. Because good men will have to fight the battle between the two of you. And in addition, my lord, I am in finality bidden to say that it is only because you are friends with Sir Kendric and Sir Gwgan that you have reached your position. Sir Santoro would remind you he was there when you had the questionable swearing to the Countess, and that she made the choice based not upon your merits, but those of your friends. And now this kid, he's talked a lot of shit, but he looks scared because he just laid out like a bunch of stuff for you, and you're not really supposed to kill the messenger sort of deal. But from this kid's point of view, you did kick his loyal boss out of his own house, evicted his sister, who is the lord of the house. Yeah, like, oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, Kenid the Cruel. Like, this kid is worried that you're gonna kill the messenger to send another message. But he delivers the message as he has been, as he says, bidden to do so.
Kenid has a good measure of Santoro and Glimo can't remember anymore. How skilled does Kinnead believe Santoro is with respect to himself? Like, does Kinnead think there's any chance in the world that he would actually be successful?
Let me take a look at your character sheet, and then I will ask you to make a awareness roll as well.
Because if I remember right, Kinnead's got a pretty good sword.
Okay, that is a success.
It is a success.
I'm looking for your combat skills here. It's been a while since I've looked at one of these here sheets.
Right side
Oh,
of
they're on the right
sheet.
side. You would say, based on what you know about him, his love of his family is much greater than yours, and he is well known. You are known for your love of family. He is well known for his love of his family, which of course set the two of you on this path. You would say that based on casual knowledge over years of knowing of him before family became involved, that you are better with the sword and the horse, and he is better with lance and battle. He is a better tactician.
Be at ease, Broden. I appreciate you coming here. I know that this must have been not an easy task that your master set out for you.
He looks at you strangely because it was really just a 2-day ride in the winter.
Right, but it's the winter, and I think that Kinnead probably noticed that that Broden was a bit nervous, and Kinnead will say, "You can tell your master Santoro that I find his terms acceptable. I'm willing to have this be handled within the family if it will avert a war."
I shall depart immediately. I must credit your wisdom and charity as being particularly chivalrous, Sir
You
Kinnead.
are welcome to the hospitality of my home for the night if you would rather set back out in the morning.
He stands and looks around. You can tell that he does want to stay here, but he looks towards the door to your study, sadly, and says, "I am afraid that in the eyes of my master, this home is not yours to offer the hospitality of to me. Although I suppose that in a week's time it shall be settled one way or the other."
Very well, Squire Broden. Ride safely.
Okay. He gets back on his horse with no name and rides.
Kinnead will dispatch messengers to the others in the Order of the Axe, letting them know of this development. I will also send page to Salisbury to alert them that one way or the other, this will be settled as a matter of family honor, and that the siege will be lifted by the spring.
I mean, I definitely send a letter back to Kinnead saying that, it's interesting that he has said that at the result of this duel, the winner and both sides will swear allegiance to the Countess. Like, he refused to swear allegiance to her because she didn't rule in his favor. So she may not want him to then swear to her. He's already raised banners in rebellion. She may not want a situation where a duel is struck and then suddenly a traitorous knight says, "Oh, actually no, I take it back. I will be on her side." So you may need her dispensation to engage in the duel. She may want to. I mean, it's unlikely, but she may want to continue the siege just to show that her authority needs to be respected.
I think Kendric's response is much less political in that he offers to stand as your second.
Kinnead will definitely accept that.
3 days after you send the messages out, Gwent arrives at your door with a small procession, saying, "Sir Kinnead, you have sent for the Order of the Axe, and I, the 4th member of the Order of the Axe, have arrived. And I bear letters from the Countess because I passed through Sarum on my way from my new estate at Stableford."
Sir Gwent, please. Welcome to Laverstock.
He looks around for a table and then says, "Can I sit?"
Please.
As he's sitting, he nods and says, "Fancy a game?"
He's like my kid. He sits on the table, not the chairs.
Perhaps a little bit later this evening. For now, I'd like to see this message from the Countess.
It's simple. No, nothing handwritten. She summons you to Sarum at earliest convenience and would speak with her most closest advisor on the manner of this war, Sir Kendric, for his opinion on this duel.
Well then, I'd say once you've got yourself rested, let's collect the rest of the order and head back for Sarum.
On day 5 of 7, the 4 of you arrive at Sarum. Sarum Castle is abuzz with the news of this upcoming possible duel. Of course, there is the siege of Chalk ongoing, the camp at Burcombe, war in Wilton and Ebble. Those who were once brothers and neighbors are now skirmishing against each other all up and down the rivers Nader and Ebble, as loyalties to Santoro or the Countess have become bitterly divided. Those who prefer a masculine understanding of knighthood and rulership and of the old claims, and those who indeed respect the Countess's claims. Someone shows you to the Great Hall. That person is wearing a large hood of white made of some sort of like fox fur, like an albino fox fur. As they direct you in, you can see that the Countess rises and dismisses this person who has brought you here and says, "Sirs Kinnead, Gwgan, Kendric, and of course Gwent, please come, sit. I would have your counsel on this matter immediately."
Is there any chance to see who this person in this white hood is?
Make an awareness roll.
I'm also curious. I will also roll.
I critical.
Kinnead is way too focused on his own shit. He almost trips over his own shoes.
Gwgan, I would like you to make a fairy lore roll.
Okay. No.
You see something like looking through I mean, for me, I would just say like a desert mirage, but of course, Gwgan has never seen a desert or a mirage. But like looking at someone through steam or looking at the top of a grassy hill on a hot day.
The heat haze.
The heat haze, yes. For you, Kendric, it is clear to you that you are looking at someone who has clouded their face with magic. It is a young woman, perhaps even a girl with dark hair and light-colored eyes, maybe blue, maybe gray, slight, pale, skittish, and they become aware that you can see through their disguise and quickly turn away as they skitter away as well.
I'd like to basically just kind of mark their face, remember them.
They do seem somewhat familiar to you. Make a heraldry roll.
Sure. No. Close, but no cigar.
A 3. I see. You have recounted this person's face, and if you see them again, you will certainly know them.
Just point of order, wouldn't it be a recognized roll rather than a heraldry roll?
Yeah, I forgot that was a skill.
Secondary point of order, it's the same.
Perfect. The Countess notices you getting distracted and says, "So Kendric, are you quite all right?"
Yes, my lady. I thought I recognized the serving girl who let us in here.
That is no servant girl. It is a lady that has been sent to me for safekeeping for a short time.
I see.
It is a difficult time, as you might suspect. There are rumors that the Queen has displaced herself to Amesbury Abbey. If that's true, we may have to stretch our security even thinner and dispatch knights to guard her during this perilous time. Some may see her, a woman, as an object of value in reclaiming England.
Especially given that the king has no male heirs, but has several stepdaughters.
Yes.
Perhaps we should focus on the matter at hand then.
Why? What are your thoughts on this duel?
I believe that it does present some advantages. However, there are also drawbacks that come along with it.
Such as?
The possibility that Khalid loses and that then Santoro either refuses to swear or splits the loyalties of your court.
Am I wrong in thinking that he has claimed that he will swear? You believe that he would go back on his word about this?
I think if he did, he would lose the support of his men. That's the problem. An oathbreaker will not command forces for long. I think more the issue is that he has previously rejected your authority. And now he is saying if he gets his way, he gets the duel he wants, he will respect your authority. Otherwise, he will take his men to war. Well, I think that this duel is the best way to avoid a fight in which, as he says, thousands will die. You need to be very careful that he has already undermined your authority, and there needs to be recompense for that in some way. Maybe not now, but people need to see that Robert is the heir and that you are the ruler until he comes of age.
She stands from the high seat and moves over to the fireplace to warm herself up and speaking loudly so she can be heard even though her back is turned, she says, Sir Kinnead, I believe that you do not need my authority to engage in this duel, am I correct?
It is a matter of family honor, but you are my liege, so should you be displeased, we'll find another way. However, I agree with my former brother-in-law that if we can handle this as a matter of personal family honor and end the siege, even if it means the end of my life, I'd rather give my life than bleed our already battered kingdom even more.
Do you think that you will lose?
I do not, but it's never a certainty any time you get on the field of battle.
I know my brothers always don't see the same way I do, but many say that God's eyes are most upon us when we commit to these duels, that the result of the duel is less about skill and more about God's will.
I don't disagree with you there, but it is my understanding that Sir Kinnead is not, in fact, a Christian.
The will of my gods are just as much on the battlefield as yours, so
You might even say more so.
I certainly feel what my brother is saying here.
She shifts her shoulders and says, Sir Kendric, you already know how I feel about this. I will not ask of anyone a false conversion. I can only say this, Sir Kinnead, that you seek satisfaction and victory through whatever gods you believe will follow you or favor you. Might I ask that you go and attend to such favoritism now while I speak with Sir Kendric?
Certainly, milady.
As you leave the hall, she turns back towards you, Kendric, and says, I will say neither yes nor no to this duel, but as you say, whether Santoro lives or dies after this, the rebellion must be put down. Can I impose upon you to gather in as much haste and secrecy as possible in the next 2 days a force that can surround the battleground and secure it in the absence of Sir Santoro's leadership? And failing that, a forced march to put down whatever rebellion Santoro has raised in his wake. After his death, one way or another, chalk and everything down the rivers must be secured quickly before spring comes.
I agree.
If he sees this coming, it will be for naught. He must believe that this duel will proceed apace. Can you do it?
What do I know about how many knights Santoro has and what manners he holds?
You have no information beyond that Dame Titania and her 3 friends have been dispatched with whoever they can grab a hold of to harass Chalk. So they are on the far side of enemy lines, sieging Sir Santoro's personal holding.
Sure.
There have been various stories, some of them conflicting, about how that winter siege is going. None of them sound good. They are living off the land in the winter, which is pretty much the worst possible circumstance.
I mean, we're running this shit where, after the duel, the Countess, welcomes Santoro back into her graces and all of his men, and, we throw a big celebration in the various estates between the knights of the two sides, and then make sure they get right drunk and then murder them all in the night.
We could do that. That's very true.
So do you propose to the Countess
No.
this scene from George R.R. Martin's titular work, A Game of Thrones, which she definitely has read, right next to her copy of The Prince by Machiavelli?
No, it would be, it is something that I could do. I could gather as many forces as I can. Quick, and 2 days is not a lot of time, given that it is still winter, but...
I care not for as many forces, but as quietly.
Yes.
There can be no leaks.
Very well. Is Gwgan still here for this?
Gwgan and Gwent are. Sir Kinneed
Okay.
is not.
Okay. So let me above the table. She's asking me to, if Sir Kinneed loses the duel, to have an army there to end the rebellion regardless.
Whether Santoro wins or loses, he doesn't leave the battlefield alive.
Okay.
And anyone who's been involved in the rebellion, any leadership, are also killed. So, like, even if Santoro dies, she doesn't want anyone associated with him to still be in power.
Yeah. I mean, we can... This is a good way of showing her authority, is to basically literally have her reject his swearing and then have some of his men, slain.
Yeah.
But, sort of...
Also, in this circumstance, even if Kinneed dies, she can still say Sir Kinneed won, and then his men went wild and she's
Sure. Yeah.
She is, I mean, as you already associated, she's not an idiot. Out of the two, she's really been the kind of political power behind this throne. And she wants to eliminate this problem now before things get really bad during the summer.
Okay. Yeah, I think Kendric will just say, as you will.
Okay. She moves to sit back down in the seat and says, "Can I offer you hospitality? Bread, salt, wine, and food?"
Of course, my lady.
Someone should find Sir Kinneed after he is done praying to his gods, and we'll make sure that he gets something warm to eat as well. And then the Game of Thrones theme song plays. And we get Amesbury Abbey in the weird clockwork papier-mâché style, as
Stonehenge pops up.
Out of nowhere, yeah. It's actually, we see little druid figures slowly moving, putting the stones up. Yeah.
Did our squires ever return from Ember?
They did not return the winter yet. Although now that you're here at Sarum, they have been here for several days.
Okay.
That probably should be the next scene. Is the squires also had a hellish winter in Ember, and you detect more than an unusual amount of drunkenness from all of them. And they actually smell like Wild Hunt, which, if you'll recall, is the horrifying beer alcohol mix that they make in Ember.
I remember.
Yeah, so the squires are all roaring drunk, and they have a bear that was very poorly skinned. They have presented it to the Countess, and now they're basically living off of her while they wait for winter to end so that they can go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you walk into the room that the squires are sharing, there's that oh shit, we've been caught moment where they're all like pushing clay jars underneath the beds and like quickly fixing the beds and like standing up and trying to stand straight and not drunkenly, as the squires are aware that they're in a lot of trouble but going to do their best. So Hayden is just like, yes, Sir Kendric.
Hayden.
Yes.
It seems your hunt was successful in more ways than one.
Yeah, in the way that matters, we got the bear. She looks over at, I believe, Needs is Ifanwi.
Yes.
She looks over at Ifanwi and Nares, and everybody's just looking at each other. And they poke Hayden, and Hayden's like, yeah, yes, great. A great bear hunt. It did take us a while to lock it down. Spent a lot of time in the woods, going in circles, learning the land, and getting involved with the local people who were very wise in their ways. We learned a lot.
They couldn't go over it. They couldn't go under it. They had to go through it.
And how is the father?
Oh, yes, the father. And they're all looking at each other, and they're just like, yes, yes. A very Christian man with Christian ways about him, of course.
Yes, that's exactly as we found him.
Okay, so they don't know if you know about his whoring around with but when you're like that, they're like, oh, you understand. Yes, of course. But they don't say that. They're just, their body language reads, oh, you know about the whoring. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I need you to come back from your wild hunt because I have need of you.
Okay, when you say wild hunt, there's like one of them accidentally kicks a jar over and it rolls back out from
it's the stench of alcohol.
Slow. It's so slow as it rolls. It's so loud as it rolls out into the middle of the room, then back a little bit, and then just back and forth. It's like dropping a plate. It keeps echoing for like a solid 20 seconds as everyone's looking at it. Yes, the wild hunt.
Go down to the kitchens, get some water, some bread, sober yourselves up. I need you to deliver some messages.
All right, they skitter. A lot of skittering in the castle lately of people who aren't really supposed to be here.
Not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to come home, but instead they're just laying around getting drunk.
Yeah. I'm going to basically have Hayden ride to, or basically call up all of my knights, except for one.
Okay.
And all of my lineage men. And I assume that she's given me, leave to call up a levy.
She did. If you think you can raise a levy in secret in 2 days.
Yeah, that's true. No, so just knights and other lineage men then probably. Okay. And then I would ask Sir Gwent and Sir Gwgan to do the same.
Now, only your men or men of Salisbury? Like anyone you can get a hold of?
I mean, do I have... I don't know if I have anybody that, do I have carte blanche authority to do so?
You are, I believe, is it you or Gwgan that's the second most glorious knight in the realm? I believe it's actually Gwgan.
I'm more glorious, I think.
Yeah. Gwgan is more glorious than I am.
But that would make you number 3, which means that you are the 3 who would ride the main line, the van, and the rear guard in a battle. So you do have such an authority until such time that a new marshal is named.
Okay. I will also send for Sir Arnault.
Okay.
And then
we should ask Gwent if he will raise his banners too, because he is part of the Brotherhood.
Yeah. That's Gwent and you were the 2 that I wanted to raise knights and lineage men. And then I think there was another knight. Was it Sir Bar?
Yep, Sir Bar. He's a quiet man.
But he was one of the initial supporters of.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will. Yeah, I'll ask him as well then.
Okay. I would like you to make a battle roll real quick.
Okay. Should we attempt to send a message to what's the lady not again?
Titania?
Titania to basically say that when the time comes, if they can basically if they're still alive, can they try to take the rear?
Look for me on the dawning of the 5th day. To the east.
I mean, that's not a bad idea, but who would we send?
Hayden volunteers to go. Oh, hold on a second. The men of Kneed's bloodline are unusually skilled in boating, are they not? Am I crazy in remembering that? Isn't that your family's special trait? Is that they're good at boating?
Good with horses.
Oh, good with horses. Never mind. Then I was going to say send your squire down the river.
Yeah, say mine is swimming, but
yeah, okay. And you want to roll this? I will let you send Hayden down river to meet up with Chalk, just as long as you make a squire roll that's successful.
Okay.
Otherwise, Hayden will be captured.
Okay.
Isn't he 20 right now?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's 20, so he can't fail.
Yeah.
Good luck. Okay.
So
Hayden begins swimming downriver in the winter at high speed. I want to imagine it's boating and the swimming is representing that. But
sure.
Hayden is using their knowledge of the riverlands of the area to make their way past the local castles and try to get to Chalk unseen. It doesn't matter because he rolled well on the squire roll, and sending a squire as a messenger is a very squirely thing to do. Yeah. In fact, it already happened once this episode.
So yeah, but then I, raise the rest of my knights except for probably one of them isn't going to come. They'll stay at the manor, but yes. And then we go.
But which one? Which one, you say? Shall it be Sir Idwal? Perhaps your cousin, Sir Kerwin?
Well, Kerwin is a progress knight now. But probably Sir Reese will stay.
Okay.
Do you guys know about the world's smallest navy?
No.
So Kazakhstan, which is entirely landlocked, was donated a patrol boat, and so they established a navy. So they have 12 sailors in their navy, most of which can't swim.
Nice.
It's okay if the boat's doing its job. You don't need to swim.
Exactly.
If it worked for the Titanic, it can work for Kazakhstan.
And then we go grab Kneed and finish eating here and do whatever, and then I guess we head for Birkin.
Very well.
I guess this is probably going to be that. So we'll need to be with Kneed for the duel, because it would seem unusual if we weren't with him.
Yes.
Which means that we'll be the ones that need to deal with. What's his name? If this goes poorly.
Santoro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we head out, I would want a moment with Kendric.
Very well.
I want to thank you for offering to stand second for me. Should this not go my way, please make sure that my wife and child are taken care of.
I will do so.
Thank you, my brother. That's all I can ask for, and one less thing off my mind as I make the peace with our gods.
I think he reaches out and like puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "You won't have to worry about it. I'm sure that you will be victorious today."
Never has so much been riding on a single battle in my personal life. So
I know how you feel. And I think he like gives your shoulder a squeeze and then pulls you into like have one arm over your shoulders, and like we walk back into like the feasting hall.
great.
Okay. We're going to go on break a little early, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the duel outside of Burcom near the Castle Wilton. Friends, stick around for that second part. So, as we return, we fade back into a man wearing brilliant yellow clothing. He's got like a little half cape. He's got that Shakespearean neck frill and like wide cuffs. And he's draping an arm decorously towards the sky and says, "Thou art listening to," and then there's a sound of like a bunch of guys firing arrows at the same time. And then he says, 12 men, and someone moonwalks directly behind him. And then we hear 9 church bells go off from the nearby castle's, Wilton Castle's chapel. And he says, "Where we play nothing but hymns and the classics." And then they begin going into Kendric's song, The Hammer, but they do like a up-tempo remix of it where they're really emphasizing the fact that the hammer is his dick. We fade slightly out from that scene, not fade, but pull the camera back, and we can see that Santoro has turned a meadow clearing into a festival, essentially. A pole has been erected. People are warming themselves at the fire near the base of it. Villagers are beginning to sell the local wares of Burcombe to any who would pass. Essentially, the last days of winter are dying here as people who are tenuously related and know each other up and down the river have come at word that the duel is today. And of course, with so many wealthy knights arriving in the local area, Sir Kendric, Sir Gwgan, Sir Kneed, there's hope that you'll buy some of their wares at perhaps the inflated winter prices.
I mean, the festival definitely plays into our hands. We just need to train our people on how to look like you're getting drunk without actually drinking.
Are you having your men-at-arms and such go to the festival?
No, I think most of them have gone to.
I was going to say, you could try to send them
are.
undercover, but of course, you know how to spot an undercover knight. You got to look for the mail vest underneath his. It's really obvious. Always check the shoes. Knights can't stop wearing, mail boots.
Yeah, squires. We've got squires with us, for example.
They all have crew cuts.
Yeah, if we look like we're drinking, so all you need to do is just get like three glasses of alcohol at like 3 different levels and keep putting them on like furniture and swapping them over. So as you're talking to people, you've always got different levels in your glass.
James telling us about the deep levels of Tom Clancy and intrigue. Hey, listen. I lost my mind watching the Mandalorian episode where the Imperial agent handles the former scientist. I saw everything coming from a mile away, and I'm like, no, she's handling him. She literally just said, "Do you trust me?" This is the classic phrase. The answer to that should always be no. The only person who says, "Do you trust me?" is someone who's about to screw you.
Look,
Don't believe him. Don't believe her.
I'd have some takeaway from going to college as a non-drinker, so I certainly didn't get a degree.
Yes, of course, the teetotalers. I forgot that everyone on my channel except Glimo doesn't drink. It used to be just you and me, Glimo, but now my doctor says I can't drink either.
Well, I'm
One
on
of
dry
them-
January, so I'm.
No! Can't you make a beef bourguignon with some wine sauce or something? Anything with red wine, please. That's it. This is an alcohol-free channel. That explains the viewership numbers.
Only for 2 more weeks.
Only for 2 more weeks, of course, of course. How do you all find yourselves as you approach this festival atmosphere with radio commercial? Nearby, someone slaps a donkey. He goes, Winamp, it really whips the donkey's ass. He turns to somebody else nearby and is like, that's the name of the donkey, Winamp.
I know you complained it took you 20 minutes to write ads. Did it take you 20 minutes to write these ads?
It took me 2 minutes to write these ads.
Okay, there you go. So you were once again over exaggerating.
I didn't have to cut these ads into the episode. I memed them into existence.
I think Kendric probably has like a couple nights with him, and then like has given instructions to his other knights and lineage men to like not really fan out, but like move over to like the side and like be ready.
Okay. But they're all dressed as knights, so armed and armored. Okay.
I mean, and like they're ready for a fight, basically.
Okay. So I'm going to say you probably have slightly less than 100 men then, given the number of lineage men involved and knights involved in this from the 4 of you.
Okay.
I'm including Gwent. Gwent actually only has his uncle as a lineage man.
Yeah.
He's quite new to rulership of Stapleford.
Are Sir Arnault and Sir Bar, are they here?
Yes, Sir Arnault is confused because you don't know him very well, but he does come when called loyally. Sir Bar is just like glad to be on the winning side. Happy to be here.
I chose you both for your loyalty to the Countess.
I love hurting people.
All right. Good to know, Sir Bar. Just make a note here.
He just smiles, turns away slowly, and just smiles at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
Justice, man. I love it. A lot of things you can do in the name of justice.
This is like everybody I ever worked with when I was a bouncer. They were like, I hope there's a fight tonight because I'm really looking forward to cracking some heads.
Kinnaid, there is a sort of parting of the crowd that leaves you and Santoro together suddenly alone in a circle of people.
Circle of equals, one might say.
Oh, I don't think you consider peasants your equal.
Okay.
I'm not making a Battletech reference in this case, as he walks over to you and holds a mailed fist out for a handshake and says, "You look well, Sir Kinnaid."
You as well, Santoro. Thank you for agreeing to settle this as a family matter.
Okay. You shake his hand?
I do.
Okay, he pulls you in for the handshake hug and he says, quietly so that only you can hear, "It is better for this to be handled between family, one way or the other." As he pulls away, he says, "I have seen to it that I leave issuance behind. I assume that you have done the same?"
Indeed.
Shall we go at 10 bells?
Very well.
I'll see myself mounted on my finest horse. 3 lances and then the sword to the death.
to the death.
I'd say odd that the terms included the loser recognizing the winner's sovereignty.
The children, so that the children aren't killed. That the term is that the loser's children aren't killed in the process. As he walks away, he says to some of the people that have gathered here from his side, look, we fight and die here today so that you do not have to. This is the epitome of chivalry. A contest settled between those who are the pinnacle of God's creations. And people nearby are like, yeah, fight, kill. And someone nearby is just like, I'm just glad I don't have to die, man. Anybody want some mangoes?
That guy's dying first when the betrayal happens.
So
He'll be sucking on a mango when the sword goes through him.
Where the hell does he get a mango in Britain,
Great Britain.
in 496?
It's definitely not the first time I've had
In the winter.
anachronistic food
Excellent.
in this campaign.
Pineapples. You gotta put pineapples in.
Didn't I
Pineapples
have
will not-
Merlin eating potatoes and corn earlier?
Oh yeah, but that was Merlin, so you know.
Oh, so when it's Merlin, it's okay.
Exactly.
Did I tell you about pineapples in Wimbledon?
Oh, no, I can't wait to hear, though.
The tennis tournament at Wimbledon, the trophy for it has a pineapple on top. And it was
Yes.
symbolic of the fact that pineapples never grow in Britain. So to serve pineapples to people implied that you were wealthy and thought very highly of them because you had to bring them in from other countries to serve them.
Wow,
what-
literally
that's
British colonialism condensed down into a single trophy. Incredible.
Correct. Yeah.
All those spices, and yet you still eat out of a tin can.
So I know that Sir Santoro and his brothers are fairly famous for their covert activities. How many people does it look like he's brought here?
His father was famous for being a murderous assassin.
Yes.
Sir Santoro is not famous for
Yes,
assassination.
but his family is.
His family is. So, as a reminder, his brothers are famous for the following things. Aiden the Prideful is called that because he's filled with pride. Gron the Black Hammerer is known for beating people to death with his black hammer. And Angwin is a priest, although you do notice he has a very large great club. And technically, priests are allowed to carry clubs in defense of themselves.
Yes.
It could probably be used to stun a horse, which is maybe perhaps not scripturally accurate, but the Pope doesn't live in England, so...
Sure. So how many of his brothers do I see here?
They are all here. And
They're all here.
you note that Aiden and Grond both bear markings of being knighted.
Okay.
Santoro has knighted them, and they wear the house colors and mail armor with swords,
Okay.
which they were not last time.
Yeah.
Grond, of course, has the black hammer.
Yeah. I'm familiar with Grand. But it doesn't look like he has any like plants in the crowd or anything like that, or like.
Make an awareness check. You want to know if he's planning on betraying you in the same way that you're planning on betraying him?
Sort of, yeah. I don't see it as me betraying him. I see it as me delivering the Countess's justice, but
Sure, absolutely.
I succeed.
That's certainly one way to look at it, and it's a way that is favorable to your moral compass, so I'm sure that's how you would want to look at it.
No, most people look at things, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. You cast your gaze about, looking for the same signs of subterfuge you yourself are employing, and you see none. This does not appear to be a trap. What armsmen that Santoro has brought are quite few, mostly his brothers, and what appear to be a few loyal men. He seems more comfortable in the fact that he's surrounded by villagers who are loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, not that he expects these people to take up arms, but that you would not slaughter your way through all of these people to get to him.
Sure.
He's got a very
I love
cultish,
that
like,
child. I love that childlike naivete.
yeah, he's got like Andrew Tate sort of cult status, or like who's the guy who wrote Fight Club? But yeah, like basically he's, you know, the people here hold Santoro in a higher regard than perhaps you would normally hold a knight in regard to.
Sure.
And he seemingly expects that you will not kill your way through these villagers to get to him.
Mm-hmm. He certainly expects that.
Yeah. He does
Right.
expect that. You tell me if there's anything you guys want to do over the course of the next hour before the blooded battle in the circle of unequals.
Kinnead is just going to be, you know, stretching, warming up, making sure that all his equipment is in order. So he's and also has been kept out of the plans, so he's not going to be doing anything.
I mean,
you
to some
guys
extent,
have-
you've been kept out of the plan, but there's no way you couldn't notice the huge number of people accompanying Kendric, Gwgan, and Gwent. Like, no one may have said anything to you, but there are certainly far more knights and armsmen than you would expect.
You know, Kinnead probably knows what's going on, but given that no one has told him, he is not going to acknowledge it either.
You know what? Let's make an intrigue roll. Why are you smiling at that, Spoon? This is a classic Glimo move to roll intrigue. No, you fail.
No.
You realize something's up, but you don't really know what. It starts with you and Santoro riding in a circle until you have exchanged positions slowly, and then continuing the ride until you're back where you began. And then the two of you begin speeding up as you make your way towards each other down a list.
Before we start, I would impassion myself.
Of course, he's also going to impassion himself.
Do they get favors?
From rich ladies.
Yeah, did Kinnead bring his wife?
I no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's no highborn ladies here to give favor?
Well, Santoro left his new wife at home.
Remind me,
Success.
passions can only go against one skill, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's for the whole scene. So if you put it on lance, you won't have it on sword.
But if
Okay.
you put it on Lance and you crit on Lance, you're probably going to kill him.
Let me ask AP before I start down this. Would I be able to call on two passions, one for lance and one for sword? Like, could I do love of family and honor?
I don't think you can do that. You can only be impassioned once, I believe.
By one at a time, yeah.
Okay. All right. Can I call upon my honor?
Yeah, you have agreed to a duel, and you are following all the prescribed. There is no deception or trickery on your part. This is in its nature fighting a battle between two people to save hundreds of lives is an honorable act in itself.
Okay. I succeed.
Roll. Hold on.
I did.
The dice
15
roller
on a
always
17.
takes a longer time. Okay, so he also succeeded. And which skill did you impassion yourself on?
Honor.
No, which skill? Your sword or your lance?
On lance.
Okay, well, no, you've both lance passioned. He has a functioning 24. What are you at?
15 on a 17, that would be +5, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm at a 20 on lance.
Okay, so you can
20 plus. Do I get charge bonus?
I think you
It
do.
would cancel.
Yeah, your bonuses. I mean, technically you do, and that actually is important
Yeah.
for the reason
Because of
that
the
two
crit.
criticals will cancel each other out.
Mhm.
So you actually would want to add the bonus. So yes, he he then will have a 29 and you will have a 25.
25. Yep.
Okay, so if you both critical, it cancels out. Neither of you can
if he crits,
fail,
you
so
fail.
the only way to deal damage is for one to critical and the other to succeed.
Yep.
He full on Knight's Tales you. He charges at you recklessly, heedlessly, completely abandoning any safety, not looking away at the last second, simply keeping his spear on you until he is certain it will land, opening himself up to a dolorous counterstroke.
So, Glimo, because your skill is higher than yours, you could consider fighting defensively for all 3 passes. Gives you additional +10, but if you beat him, you don't actually hit him. Just push it through to the sword round, basically.
Remind me what.
Well, you do know that his skill is better. I was going to say, would your character do that not knowing whether his skill was greater than yours or not? But you literally made a roll earlier to identify that he is more skilled than you.
And you'd have to also assume that the reason he called for a joust is because he's a better lanceman than a swordsman.
Damn, that's solid logic. And that actually was the reason why I was like, okay, he's going to call for a joust.
Damn, I wish I'd thought of that ahead of time, because then I would have impassioned myself on
sword.
But chips are on the table. No, I agree with you, James. Okay, so then I will be +20.
Which means you can't fail to crit, but you also can't do any damage.
No, your lance skill initially is a 15, right?
Right, so
you're up to a 35. So you can fail to crit on a 1 through 4.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not like that. Doesn't really matter because you're fighting defensively, but it would have been a crit. The two of you ride at each other. You use your shield first and foremost. The strike of your lance is not important to you, and you perfectly take his blow, sliding his lance past you on the inside side. As the crowd cheers, 2 great knights colliding together, leaning in, both of you fighting literally passionately for what you believe in. The noise is enormous, not just the sound of the horses, not just the collision of your spears against each other, not just the feeling of his lance hitting your shield so hard it nearly dehorses you. It's the screams of the people around you shouting for blood or for honor and justice. And then you're away. Things grow quieter as the two of you ride past and then turn and move back towards a rickety list that has been erected out of hastily chopped wood as he rides back towards you.
Okay. Going again.
Are you really rolling, or are you just typing in?
I got a 17 the first time. I got a 19 the second time on the die.
Unbelievable. All right, this would also be a crit for him because he's got 29. Just more noise, more cheering, no blood, but the heat is on.
If it's any help, Glimo, you're up 2 points to 1 in terms of how jousting scores work.
Wait, why?
Because you get 1 point for breaking the lance off your opponent.
But his lance didn't break because he didn't deal damage.
No, if you a successful hit and it's an odd dice roll, the lance breaks.
But that's damage, right? It's the damage roll, whether it's odd or even, determines whether it
breaks.
It's
also the attack roll. Okay, it doesn't.
No, I believe it's damage, and because we aren't rolling for damage, it didn't break.
Okay. Fair enough.
I feel like I'm not crazy talking on that one.
No, you are correct on that rules interpretation, but I believe it's 2 points for breaking a lance and 1 for just winning.
So it's just 0 now because no one's winning.
It's just
There's
tied.
no points. You are starting to heat up in the exertions, even with the cold sweat on your body. But, you know, these hits from him are enormous. If your shield does not deflect the next hit, you very well could die instantly or slowly and painfully. You are more skilled in the sword. And if you can just hold out until then, the gods should favor you. Should. As the two of you turn. His love of his family, you for the honor of the Countess, as you begin riding at each other once more. Your chivalry's on the line. This is your way. No, what? No.
16.
I get Kaiba. No. Both of you crit all 3 times. The pinnacle of knighthood. A perfect duel. As no lances are broken, neither are your spirits. And the squires come forward to take the horses' reins and hand swords and new shields to both parties. As the two of you prepare to do battle, Kirk and Spock style, for like a good 5 to 10 minutes while men scream loudly, drunkenly, watching the two of you bludgeon each other. How do you feel going into this battle as you see him, his breath coming hard out, clouds of steam from the chill, his eyes wild with adrenaline as he straps his shield in place and is looking at you across the way.
Should you ask it, Santoro, I will offer you quarter.
To what end? If I lose here, the Countess will not kill me, will not kill my brothers. You will shelter me in your magnanimousness.
Magnanimity.
I don't know whether you meant for a peasant nearby to say that or whether Gwgan just whispered it. A nearby peasant hears Gwgan says and says, "Rightly so, my lord, rightly so, magnanimity."
Speak only for myself, but should you have death, I will bring it.
He looks at you sadly and just begins to walk towards you with murder in his heart.
Okay. So the sword rolls will be flat at this point. No,
correct. You're not
no
on horses.
modifiers.
There's nothing special going on here.
Okay.
Okay, so he has a sword of 15.
$11 on a 19.
That's an 11 and an 11. The two of you engage in a continuously perfect duel. Several strokes matched evenly as you chop overhead. He blocks with shield. He turns away your blow and then goes in with a flat thrust towards your throat. You, with your pommel, knock the blow away. And it is like that for a solid series of exchanges. People going absolutely wild. Watching two knights, perhaps not blade masters, perhaps not the pinnacle of the art, but still the best they have seen in their lives. Storied legends in their own right. There's no blood. There are no tears. It is a perfect duel still.
This is wild.
We go again then, I guess, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Another 11.
a success, but not as good as yours. Partial success on his part. So he will get his shield and his armor on this hit.
20 damage.
I believe that means he will end up taking 4 points of damage.
And have to make a, unless he's size of 20 or higher, he has to make a dexterity roll.
Not. He is a Kendrician man. Hold on. I gotta get his character sheet up. I have so many books and tabs open right now. I honestly, I believe that's gonna knock him down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless he's got a really good high dex, that's probably a knockdown.
I don't believe that he's that good.
And now here's the real question: if it is a knockdown, does Kneed let him get back up?
The classic Solaris Knights question: do you let them get back up? The answer is often no. Dexterity is a 13. He is down. He falls
Death
to the ground.
Death from above.
Oh, even more classic Glimo combo right here. He goes down. You see that he's not expecting any quarter. He is scrambling to defend himself as he prepares to stand up.
Yeah, I mean, Kneed is known as Kneed the Vengeful, and I don't think he has any reason whatsoever to, after being rebuffed once, to let him stand. I think he's just gonna...
You have a free hit here, and on a 19, you can only fail on a 20.
Success.
That is successful. You will hit against his 10 armor.
24.
That is a big hit. Okay, so we're probably going to need the injury rules on this one, because that's 14 points of damage. And I believe he has to make another roll to stay standing as he is still standing up.
Yeah.
So let's start there. He does successfully stand up.
Is 14 greater than his constitution or not?
His constitution is 15.
No, he's fine.
His major wound is also 15. Okay, so he's fine.
Yeah. And he's taken what total of 20 damage so far?
18.
18, 6 and 20. Yeah, 6, so he's not below his unconscious threshold. Shouldn't be probably.
His unconscious threshold. I don't know if I should say it out loud, but no, he's not.
Okay, he's fine.
Not yet.
Well, fine's a very relative term.
The world is his oyster.
You tell me about this strike. It's powerful one. I mean, 24 and 14 points of damage is not small.
I mean, I think he is trying to get up and leaves himself open, and Kneed is not even a little bit shy about just coming in and hitting him, right in the side of the chest, right where his mail is weak.
He does the Kylo Ren chest slam as he stands up and he says, he doesn't say it, he roars it. He says, I have honor. I fight for family, and where's yours? No family, no honor. You betray my sister and have led us here in your madness. And now you strike a man who is down in your cruelty and your vengeance. Is this how you see a knight, Sir Kneed? As he charges towards you, sword held high.
I let my blade talk for me.
Okay. Let's see how that blade talks. 5 ain't bad. 5's a pretty good conversation.
Something like I see a man who would give no quarter and should expect none.
That's an 11, so that is a success. You will get your armor
Okay, so I've got 16.
and shield.
Yep.
That's a shitty roll. You completely absorb it. Does a 14 beat your dex?
No, size.
Size.
It does. Size? No.
Okay.
I'm a size 16.
He gets several successful hits on you, but you take it on the armor with the shield. His vengeance and fury drives you back slightly, ever so slightly, onto the back foot. Your swordsmanship never faltering, but it is hard to take the wild blows of a man who is now driving himself, if not passionately, but desperately from the edge of death. He stops and settles back into what is quickly becoming mud between your 2 feet, as the ground warming with the rising of the sun, the slight peeking through the clouds, the god rays falling between the 2 of you in a just and poetic way, as he raises his sword, the light gleaming off of it, and says, "Why has it come to this, Kinnead? Between the 2 of us, your house and mine, we could have been as brothers. In your greed, you would cast my sister out. Over money, a small and paltry sum.
Father should have schooled both of you. Knights do not borrow money as a matter of honor." And then I come back in with my sword again. Not a good one.
I turned to that same peasant that grew me and said, "Yep, he's right. Usury is a sin."
The guy goes, "Isn't that why we keep the non-Christian religions around? Wait, is Kinnead even a Christian?" I thought he was very famously a pagan. All right, that's a 3. That's a success. Your perfect duel long past. The 2 of you are making increasingly desperate blows as the stress begins to heat up. His strikes are just enough to barely slip past your guard. No cuts, just battering over and over again, slamming into your armor, damaging it. And on a pretty decent 16 roll, you take none of it. Is your size a 16?
Mm-hmm. My size is 16, yes.
I believe you will need to make a dex roll to stay standing.
Oh, no.
Okay, you go down.
I go down.
Okay.
See if he pays me back.
He not only pays you back, he does so by going into a berserk stance. No defense, no questions asked, no quarter given. He will take the +10 and simply go for an execution shot on you.
Oh shit, I didn't know that was a thing, or I would have done that.
Normally that's something that, you have to actually have a trait to do that.
I'll buy that. All right, he'll just stab you normally with no repercussions.
Okay, my lunch will be right back.
No! No! Oh, why? Why now, in the moment of my victory, am I abandoned? Why? This is some real Governor Tarkin shit.
Flee in the moment of my victory. Yeah.
He
So
raises his sword.
Do I just stand as normal?
Yeah, no, I mean, so here's what happens. He raises his sword overhead, forgetting his shield, both handing the sword, bringing it point down, preparing to slam it down into your helmet and drive you into the ground. And at the last second, you jerk your head sideways, and it just deflects off of you. And so you can see the blade right beside your face. You can feel it against you. You can feel the pressure. But Iron Man style, you rise up, sword and shield back in hand. You push him back with the shield. He resets as well as he glares at you with, now it is but hatred, knowing that he has failed in an execution strike. What should have been an easy victory in that moment has turned back into a desperate scramble to survive.
Very well.
All right, let's roll again. Let's throw these dice dramatically. Okay, well, even if I succeed, I can't beat that. Unless I critical, which I don't. I have a partial success.
19.
You drive him back once again.
So that's three more
damage.
points.
3 more points of damage. And that is not enough to force him under his unconsciousness threshold.
But knocked down.
Oh, hold on. I'm checking here. I'm checking. 16. I believe his size is 16.
No, it's 19. 19.
And it's Dex for the check.
Yeah, he fails. So he goes down again. On a 16, he stumbles backwards, slipping in the mud that has been created by your exertions and blood and sweat as he goes back to the ground, and you can see the fear in his eyes, knowing that he will probably not rise.
That's a success.
It is.
18 points, so that's eight damage.
He has 2 health left and is unconscious. You strike him down, and he collapses to the ground. And now, all of the shouting, all of the hollering becomes a hush as everyone stops and waits to see what happens next. The brilliant sunbeam that was cast on this battlefield disappears as the clouds of the beginning of spring cast a darkness on this scene.
The terms were to the death, and I coup de grace.
As you cut his head off, rain begins to pour down all around you. But go ahead and give yourself a check mark in honor. You
Can
kill.
I also take a check in vengeance?
Yeah, I think so. I'll take a check in vengeance as you kill this man. My question is this when Kendric and Gwgan and Gwent spring the trap on the remaining house knights here? And
Yeah, I was looking at Kendric for that. Yep.
I would like you to make another battle roll to take them quickly and silently before they can defend themselves. Is that 16? Is that good enough?
Passion first?
Yeah, can I passion Loyalty Lord?
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Oh, fumbled.
Oh no!
All right, hold on. Let me get my notes because we're playing with the other rules that I'm not as familiar with.
It goes down by 1.
It goes down by 1, but I don't believe I go mad. I believe I'm just melancholic.
I think if it's 16 plus, you may go mad.
Is there a skill of 16?
It is a 16.
You do go mad for 1d6 plus 5 days, so please roll, and you lose 1 point of passion, so roll those bones.
So I think like Kendric is like overcome with maximum.
No.
With the like the perfection of the duel and like the fact that they went 3 lance rounds and then like 2 or 3 sword rounds before anybody landed a true hit. He just forgets to signal everyone to attack these guys, and it's just kind of like sitting there on his horse. Like,
I would like to ask you to roll your hammer skill real quick.
Okay.
For reasons I will elucidate in a moment.
You hammer yourself in the head.
Fail by 1.
You do not execute your plan with perfection, unlike the sword duel. Excited, but remembering the days that you fought at Tintagel and Terrabil, remembering all of those horrible slaughters, remembering your famous finishing of a certain vile duke, you find that you are moving. Perhaps you are unconscious while conscious. Perhaps you are in a battle trance. You find that you have drawn the Black Hammerer's hammer in your hand, that you have rode past him and you have taken it from him. And now you ride through the crowd looking for any of those enemies that you can find and laying them about left and right. His men, Braun begins calling everyone to defend themselves, that it is a trap. And they begin diving for whatever weapons they can find, for any cover, diving among the carts and among barely set up stalls. Some are beginning to flee, but this trap, as your men begin coming out of the woods, is no longer sprung with a perfect execution.
Yeah, and I think like peasants are screaming about the mad bear and just running in fear.
You ride into the woods.
Yep.
Chasing down an armsman, not to be seen again in this scene. So Gwgan, as the only person here, well, I guess Gwent is still here, mounted and ready to do his duty.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and rally the forces to do what we came here to do myself.
Okay.
So.
I would like you to make the battle roll then to rally everyone to successfully complete the red joust.
Yes.
Even with the rains pouring down, hiding the tears in the
So the
faces.
rains in Castamere, was that?
No, it's the actual. I described physical rains coming down at his death because I wanted to have like a really cinematic combat. His brother's tears are hid as they are butchered by you and your men. Went easily moving to take down the clubbed priest. You personally dispatching Santoro's other two brothers. Kinneed, you find that you are left alone in the center of what is barely an arena, just a grassy field, as people flee on all sides around you, grabbing whatever horses or carts or whatever cover they can, as armsmen from your allied houses begin flipping over boxes, looking for traitors and killing them on sight.
Kinneed is, feeling battle exhaustion, but he will keep his sword raised, and he is not going to seek any opponents, but if anyone takes this moment to try to engage with him, he's ready.
No one tries to engage with you. They're all too busy fleeing for their lives, desperately trying to survive, standing their ground.
So while fighting, I definitely invoke, for Earl Robert, for the Countess, for the Queen, as though, to imply that we are, to anyone uncertain, that we're on the side of right.
Of course. And I think that covers this scene. Could I ask you to spare a lustful roll, Kendric?
Sure.
How many bosses do you fire?
Yeah. That is a failure.
Okay. I would like you to do whatever the opposite of lustful is. I think it's chaste.
Chaste, yes. That is also a failure.
You wake up in what can only generously be described as a hide tent next to a woman that you recognize. It is Dame Titania. As you have failed both lustful and chaste, I will let you decide whether or not you have actively slept with her or that you have fought your way down here and collapsed in your exhaustion.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I will say that he was not chased. Because he was maddened and is not in control of his own faculties. And my lustful is higher than my chaste, so.
You wake up with bruises. Some were definitely from battle. Some of the cuts that you have were definitely not from battle. As you clashingly all of a sudden recall the last week of your life, having ridden south, killing all that declare any sort of loyalty until you broke the siege of Chalk by arriving and helping Titania and her three men. And that is it. With word from you, screaming in rage that Santoro was dead, the defenders of Chalk broke. And now, whatever could get away from this small force did, and those that could not are preparing to stand judgment before Sir Naroon. And Titania just looks at you from underneath the furs and says, "You're awake. Are you feeling better?" You were enraged.
something about the duel. But yes, I have recovered my wits.
You are married in the Christian way to a Christian woman, if I am not mistaken.
I am.
There's no need for her to know anything about this. We are both good pagans.
Even a pagan who is handfasted should not stray from that bond, but I'm not always in control of my passions.
I think that there are a few knights who are.
I appreciate your discretion, Dame Satania.
Well, we should go see to the executions.
Indeed.
She gestures, your sword nowhere to be found, only Gron's black hammer lying with your equipment. Shall you merit out the Countess's judgment, or shall it be I?
If there are to be executions, it should be the one who passes judgment that executes the sentence. And I shall get up and dress and grab the hammer.
Okay. She just follows you, curious to see whether you're going to kill these people or bring them back to the Countess.
I mean,
I assume the both of you are also dressing quickly as you leave the tent, and
yeah.
You're calling for anyone to help you get your armor on, and she's calling for her squire.
Yeah. It's like the people who are here, who are they?
Do you mean her companions or the people of Chalk?
Like the people who are sent who are theoretically going to be either executing or taking back to the Countess.
It is Kinnead's former servants, the ones who worked at the house, some lineage men of his sister-in-law.
Sure.
These are, some are armsmen, some are simply just passionate servants who do not wish to leave now that they've lost. They want to accept. But
there's no
there's no knights left.
Yeah, there's no. It's all esquires or lower,
or mercenaries or village men who have been impassioned by the idea of manly chivalry against the Countess.
I think that given that there's no leadership here, he would take them back to the Countess.
Okay. We cut back in time 10 days to Gwgan, Kinnead, and Gwent. Gwent certainly had no qualms about fighting other knights, but he did not partake in hunting down any of the peasants quite famously. He instead simply watched quietly on his horse with an expressionless face, and then rode up to Kinnead, who was recovering in the center of the arena, and said to you, "So Kinnead, do you need a hand up? Will you ride with me?"
Please, Sir Gwent, I'm rather exhausted.
So he takes his mail glove off, holds a hand down to pull you up behind him on the horse. Gwgan, you are getting done withdrawing your sword from a faithless peasant, miscreant, heretic, as Sir Kinnead and Sir Gwent ride up towards you.
Yeah, I don't think I ride down peasants that flee, but any peasant which fight back certainly gets.
It's definitely a lot of people with pitchforks forming a porcupine formation, who thought that they were going to sell some wares here and instead have sold their souls, denying their rightful lord.
Oh, it's not my job to judge them. God will do with that.
Sure.
I just need to arrange the meeting. Kennedy, you okay? That battle was very impressive.
I thank you. It took a lot out of me, but I am more or less okay.
Once things are sorted out here, we need to find what happened with Kendric.
Gwent shakes his head and says, "No, don't mess with the timeline. We'll send a We'll send a messenger down to Chalk. Surely he went in that direction. Perhaps he even went to take Apple Castle himself. I don't mean to tell you what to do, Sir Gwgan, but someone must break the garrison at Wilton. I do not know that they will simply come out and surrender themselves because their leader is dead."
Well then, sounds like the order of the axe must ride.
All right, the song from, the Hunters 3 part of what's the second movie?
Two Towers.
Yeah, Two Towers plays. Ba, 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 as you ride over the grassland about less than a mile to Wilton Castle. Because it was close enough we could hear the church bells. I don't think you can give venal indulgences to someone who hasn't been baptized, James.
Well, it's a good reason to get baptized if you feel, if you.
If he gets baptized, he doesn't need venal indulgences because all of his sins are forgiven during the baptism. That's the sacrament.
Isn't it only his original sins forgiven for the baptism?
Boy,
I thought it was all sins that you committed in your.
Now let's be really clear here. We're talking about a baptism in what is almost certainly Arian Christianity, not Nicene Christianity because of the time. And the Nicene Christianity is only just starting to take off in Central Europe, which will eventually become the primary Catholic Church. So
it was certainly a good way to convert pagans was to say you'd excuse all of their sins, I guess. So
yeah.
All right, it's fine. If he
Let's
wants to get baptized,
yes, because my
of
knowledge of Arian Christianity is not strong. Mostly because it's been rewritten over the last 1,600 years. It was also the losing Christianity. So, yeah. How do you want to proceed with dealing with Wilton? It is a full-on city of unusual power. It is walled. It is on the river. It should theoretically be able to supply itself for several years. But the garrison is questionable. No one has had any word from it since it declared its loyalty for Santoro, and it is essentially his threat towards Sarum because it's so close. Not quite a castle, but not something that can be ignored.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that castles don't, like, the fields aren't inside the castle.
Yes.
So, I mean,
this is a large city that has a wall around it. It is not technically a castle.
Yeah, but I mean, certainly, if we were to siege it and then burn all the fields, they're limited to what stockpiles they have in the city in terms of their ability to sustain themselves.
Is that what you would like to do?
Not particularly, no. I mean, sorry, certainly sieging it, yes, under the threat that and I think that the message needs to be sent in under the white flag to say that Santoro has been defeated. That the garrison, because the garrison and the city itself is not under it can remain loyal to the Countess. We're not looking to sack the whole city, but that the city needs to turn out the traitors, and then it will be welcomed back into the grace of Sarum.
Ooh, wow!
Or it can,
The city needs to turn out the traitors. What a message to send! Holy shit! I would love a roll on this. I feel like
all right, maybe.
All right.
I was actually going to say just, but yeah, I'll take it.
Well, I'll take just if you're offering just.
I am offering just because this is technically a just act to say turn out those who have caused these wrongs.
That succeeds.
Okay, you can take a check in just as your messenger arrives, but does not deliver a message to the knights who lead the city, they deliver a message to the people of the city that if they drive out the traitors, they will be recognized and spared and brought back into the fold. And suddenly, all of the support this garrison has had disappears in a matter of hours as boots disappear, swords that were being shined can't be found, weapons are broken, and the garrison is chased out by the loyal people of Wilton, who always supported the Countess but could do nothing while the terrible traitors were among them. And armsmen, those who don't have the sort of protection of nobility and chivalry, are just simply outrightly killed as examples, as less than a dozen men flee into your justice, Gwgan.
Well, I am famously just, but I'm also quite merciful, so...
Would you like to check on that?
I'll make a merciful check. See if I... No, I'm not. I will make a cruel check, in fact, I think.
Yes.
No.
You get to choose what happens. Allow me to narrate the scene.
Yeah,
Santoro's...
Go ahead, sorry.
Santoro's point of contact here is a man who he has knighted. So not someone who has ever served the Countess, but someone who was not a knight that Santoro made a knight. Runs towards you, and he says, "Sir, I recognize you. You're Sir Gwgan, a Christian knight. I, too, am Christian." He pulls a cross out from underneath his armor and throws himself on his knees before you with his arms out. And he says, "Please, I beg for justice. Poison was spilled into my ears. I beg of you, take me to the Countess so that I might receive whatever punishment for both my crimes and my sins. I only ask that my life be spared. I am a good and just man, a Christian like you."
I make this commitment to you, sir. I will take you before the Countess. Whatever punishment she decides will be met by my hand.
He says, "I suppose I have no choice then." As he stands, "I give you my parlay that I will go with you."
So what level of knight is this man?
I mean, technically, he hasn't sworn any loyalty before the Countess, so not a knight at all.
I mean, yeah, okay. Oh, so
he was knighted by Santoro over the winter.
Okay, no worries. But he's not. He doesn't have a household. He is just
no. He is just a wealthy peasant armsman who has been raised to a knight under Santoro.
All right. Oh, I'll detain him, and we'll take him back to Sarum.
He and the dozen mercenaries and former armsmen who are now Santoro's knights go with you, some more quietly than others, but surrounded by somewhat less than 100 men that follow you. Wilton quickly falls and is back in the loving arms of the Countess. These men are under your guard. In Kinnead, your horse is found, your squire is found, and a scene set several days later, as you are restoring order in Wilton, is perhaps Kendric stumbling upon the city. We'll do that when we return then. All right. We'll be back for the third in just about a third of 15 minutes. Well. So here we are again. I just want to echo what's going on in our live chat by saying I really appreciate Spoon's willingness to compromise himself and his character.
You know, the dice will what the dice will.
I have
It is
two quick mechanics questions before we get into the...
Okay.
Does this count as a joust?
Yes.
So do I get a joust win?
No, because you didn't win the joust.
Okay. Fair enough. And can I check any of my...
Your joust score is 0 because you didn't score any hits.
You
Fair
can
enough.
technically check your lance skill though,
I was
because you
going to say,
did
can I check
critical.
my,
Yes.
my lance and
You
sword?
critical 3 times on your your lance skill, so yes.
Yes. Would sword count as a?
Yeah,
check?
I think your sword was very important during that battle, so yes.
Thank you.
It'd be more impressive when jousting's actually invented in a few years' time as well.
Right.
I feel like knights riding at each other is certainly not uncommon.
Yeah, but not
The
for
formal
sport yet,
sport of jousting has yet to be officially taken up,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this sort of battle is not unusual.
I think there's an optional scene where like a knight who's trying to get jousting picked up as a sport challenges the players.
Well, maybe we just saw it right there. It just happened.
The stories of this duel are what inspires that guy.
Yeah.
Our battle will be legendary. So what's the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit scene where and he invented the sport of golf at the same time? It is a day just before, several days before the Pentecostal feast, a warming but not warm spring day when Kendric and the crew of Titania roll into town. The stories that you have heard over the past 2 days, Kendric, are many. The fall of Wilton, the successfully execution of Santoro's men that you left behind, stories of your impassioned rage as you... fleeing the scene is not the term that people use. Instead, the term is like mad butchering. Stories of the string of men you killed downriver as you followed your way to Chalk will haunt these lands for a long time. And perhaps equally haunting are the stories coming out of Chalk, as it is said that among Titania's men, there was one who was taking those that they could find, people who wandered out at night and were like going to look for food in the winter, were killed by Sir Narrated through putting them on a cross Roman style and letting them slowly freeze to death, naked, under the judgment of the Lord. There is a reason they call him Narrated the Brutal. Yes. Narrated has not weathered this winter well either. You can see that his hair has turned gray despite being in his mid-20s, and he is starting to go bald very quickly. His eyes have a sort of dark hardness to them that you perhaps didn't see the first time you met him. But also clear in your travels are that Titania and her 3 companions all love each other, both romantically and also with the same level of brotherhood as the Order of the Axe. They are a committed group.
Titania's a pagan, correct?
She is, as are all of her companions.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes, Narrated crucifying people is pretty horrible.
Yeah.
And technically, crucifixion wasn't originally done by Christians. It was done to Christians, so...
Yeah. Okay.
So are all of Santoro's brothers dead?
Yes.
Is Harfin still alive?
You have... No one has seen Harfin.
She wasn't at Chalk.
She was not at Chalk, but I haven't mentioned it yet. Santoro's new pregnant wife was at Chalk and is now in your care.
Yeah. Okay.
Her name is Lady Wimbledon, I've decided. She had another name, but given James's story,
That's gone
I've
in the
decided
notes.
to change it. Lady Wimbledon. She is a peasant girl, the eldest daughter of a very wealthy merchant, and his money was necessary for Santoro's rebellion to succeed, his resources, and this man's placement in the community. His wife, Wimbledon, is not sharp. She is a kind woman who doesn't really understand what's happening right now.
Yeah.
All that she knows is that her husband Santoro is now dead. And she's being taken from her home. And she's trying to be as nice to everyone here as possible, but, you know, you're Kendric, the mad bear.
The mad bear.
The wolf.
Yeah, the young wolf.
The berserker. Titania and her crew are all wild pagans. Neroon is crucifying people. It's a bad time for Wimbledon.
Yeah. You know, I give her my assurances that the terms of Santoro and Khanid's duel included her safety, win or lose. So, for whatever that's worth to her.
She quietly cries when no one's around, which isn't often because people are always watching her.
Yeah.
I have prisoners that I need to convert to natural justice, so I'll need to return to Sarum soon.
Is that what you say as you see Kendric cresting a nearby slight rise coming towards you?
Oh, so I think this is something I was saying to Kinnaid at the time.
Are Harfin's children also missing?
Is it one kid? Am I crazy?
It's twin daughters and then two younger.
Yes, the children
sons.
and Harfin are all missing.
Okay. She
Kendric.
also had 3 sisters.
Gwgan, Sir Khanid, good to see you again.
Saying to Tanya?
Kendric.
She nods.
Chalk has fallen.
As has Wimbledon. Winton.
Lady Wimbledon goes, what? I would like Gwgan and Khanid to make notice rolls. Or awareness. Too many RPGs. It's awareness.
Success.
Of course.
So it's handy that in is it Cyberpunk, it's called awareness notice.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
The two of you are picking up a weird air between Kendric and Titania.
Are they holding hands?
No, they're specifically not holding hands, but they just have like a weird relationship right now as they're riding next to each other. Well, it would seem that you've done well, says Titania as she gets down off her horse. Did I hear you saying natural justice?
I have prisoners to take back to Sarum.
I think the natural justice would be to turn these people out in the winter, but we're too late for that.
I've told people that I will take them before the Countess for her judgment, and I will speak to my thoughts on that.
We have very few prisoners.
Yeah, but they will also go before the Countess.
Titania just kind of shrugs while rolling her shoulders in the process, like, oh, okay.
I can just say when I did this is out of character. When I did my training for security, and they talked about the laws around making a citizen's arrest. This is obviously based on common British law, but one of the requirements of a citizen's arrest is that you convert the person to natural justice as soon as possible. And the instructor asked the class what they thought converting to natural justice meant. And one of the people in the class said, "Do you shoot them?"
Wait until you hear about how citizens' arrests don't work in America.
Yeah.
You immediately become responsible for their safety.
Oh, yeah. The same here. Yeah.
Well, that's rough when they're trying to escape you.
Yeah.
She turns toward you, Sir Khanid, and says, I have heard word from those we have passed along the way. It sounds like your duel is one out of myth and legend.
I don't know that I'd go that far, but it definitely was quite the fights.
I've actually already composed a song about it. Would you like to hear it?
Absolutely.
All right, so we make a composed
Is
roll
it
followed
a
by
Chat
singing roll.
GPT song that you've written
No.
into? Is it that other song writing? Oh, okay, you're actually yes. All right. Now you've composed it. Now you have to. You are singing it. Okay, it's pretty good. You want to break us off a little piece of the remix? Just give us an idea what the beat's like.
I don't know. It's a Jewel song, so
A
it's
nearby
probably...
church bell begins ringing, and the same troubadour from before is just like, "It's 12 men." The sound of arrows being fired goes off again, and we're back. Nearby, Winamp the donkey. Nearby, Winamp the donkey like kicks a cart, and it falls over, and you hear like a bunch of car crash noises.
I'm gonna say that Gwgan's songwriting and singing style is reminiscent of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
How incredibly specific. Not you can just be like, it's Slimo. Titania listens to your song and then smiles somewhat cruelly and turns to Kinnead and says, "May I offer you a suggestion, Sir Kinnead?"
Absolutely.
The security of Salisbury may come down to legends and myths of your skill. A Saxon warband may decide whether or not to raid us or Dorset or Hampshire based on hearing about the brilliant swordsmanship of the master bladesman Sir Kinnead. So, you may not wish to take credit where credit is due, but I would suggest that you may want to consider the artistic abilities of some of your forebears, the former holder of your seat, and think about having a song like Sir Gwgan's composed that perhaps elucidates others as to the savage nature of your perfect duel. Perhaps I've spoken too many large words. Fear will keep the other counties in line.
I can see the wisdom in this, and I thank you for it.
Yes, of course. She breaks into the Countess's chambers and says, "I'm disbanding the Senate."
I just want to say that as we leave this scene, I definitely shed a single tear for how much better the song would have been if accompanied by a tin whistle.
The damn tin whistle. The true legend of the legendariness. You make your way on a 2 days ride back to Sarum. And all around you is the buzz of preparing not for your return, but preparing for two guests, Sir Brastius and the Prince Asquine of the East Saxons, the Essex. They will be here soon for the spring festival. Countess, of course, receives you immediately in preparing for, it's called the Pentecostal Feast in the spring? Yes. Okay, yeah. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so I couldn't remember if that's what it's called. The Countess receives you immediately in the Great Hall.
Lady Ellen, you would have already heard tales of our success in both Wilton and Chalk.
I have heard many tales, yes.
Death of Santoro and his brothers. The matter is resolved. The people of Wilton are loyal once more. Kendric's plan went off flawlessly. I've taken prisoners, men that were raised to faux knighthood status by Santoro. I considered strongly their fate, and I wish to put them before you. They speak of honeyed words being whispered by Santoro. They say they are godly men. I would like to hear your judgment, a judgment which I will enact, but I would like to offer, if I can, some counsel that we've lost many knights in Sarum, in the realm. In fact, I think that Salisbury has seen your authority and your cruelty through the destruction of Santoro. Now let them see your mercy through these men being allowed to live. I would take some as men under me, and I would vouch for them and take that responsibility for them. But I think we need skilled men of God, to protect us.
These are Christian men.
Yes,
And they swore oaths before God to Santoro.
they did.
Have you ever heard the phrase, "a few bad apples spoils the bunch," Sir Gwgan?
I have, which is why I have not offered them any mercy until putting them before you.
You are right that we need knights and good men. And if they were knights and good men, we might have use of them. But we cannot allow a few bad apples to spoil the barrel of Salisbury. I hope that my meaning is clear.
Indeed, I'll have it done.
If there is mercy to be extended, I shall offer it to this Lady Wimbledon. She may serve in my court for the rest of her days.
Very well.
Sir Kendric, I am to understand that your sword has been lost during the scuffle.
Yes, my lady. I misplaced it and took the black hammer from Grand.
I would offer you the choice of any sword from our army.
That is very generous, my lady.
You have performed for me a great service that I have asked for you on short notice, and you have done swimmingly so.
I'd like to test Proud here.
Okay. To what end?
To whether or not he takes the praise and remains quiet, or whether he shouts out Regan for taking over when he rode off.
I'll allow for it. Wow. Critical failure. I believe you mark the opposition and also roll to test it. Is that how that works? Or I believe it's your proud lowers by 1, actually. Right?
It's a trait, not a passion, though.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I believe
so automatically you put your modest up by 1. Proud goes down, on modest goes up by 1.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you do a test on modest to see if you have to act modestly.
Gotcha. Okay.
You have your choice then, even though in this very moment you have become slightly more modest. That does not mean that you act modestly now.
Yeah.
You simply consider passing off to Gwgan and...
I don't think he will, but he will. He'll say, it would not have been so without the actions of my fellow knights. I would ask that you remember them in your praise as well.
I intend to offer them very much praise at the Pentecost. And she gives everyone a knowing nod. Walk with me, Sir Kendric, down to the armory, and we shall select now.
Very well. And he'll go with her.
As she walks with you, she says, there have been many stories from the river. Stories about Aiden and his boating incident, about breaking the siege of Chalk. There have been strange stories indeed from the camp of Titani.
What have you heard, my lady?
I've heard much. Some of it concerns me. How do you find their group?
They are pagan like myself, but they are a hard and unforgiving,
Are they
ruthless,
loyal?
perhaps. I believe so. They spent the winter outside of chalk for you, my lady.
She seems to come to a decision and says, I have heard many stories about that area, and I would discuss with Titania and others, but they say that if you listen to the people, you will hunt for rabbits in the sea and fish in the forests. Not every news that you hear, especially in these chaotic times, can be trusted. And if you speak for her group, then in you I will place my trust. She opens the door to the armory. There are not as many swords in here as there once were. Many more spears, perhaps. What paucity of metal there is set to making iron tips to spears and iron tips for arrows. But there are a few pieces of steelwork here that are quite impressive. Even a Roman general's sword. She walks past each sword of the 10 and introduces you to them. One of them, which is not holding up perhaps as well as one might expect, is an iron sword that dates back to a general in the army of Boudica, the defender of the Isle against the Romans.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of these swords speak to you, or perhaps you are just looking for a simple affair?
The iron sword of the general of Boudica's army. I don't know if you know this, Countess, but Boudica was a follower of Andraste, the pagan goddess of victory, which is also my patron. So I would take that sword.
She removes the sword from the wall and places it in a sheath and hands the sheath to you. In the classic Arthurian style, a woman handing a sheathed sword to a man laid weirdly across their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just like, oh, here's the sheath.
Yeah.
Like a normal person.
Sure. He will take it.
And there is a gravity to the moment as you take this old blade, this ancient blade, perhaps not as storied as others, but it feels solid and right in your hands, heavier than what you're used to. Perhaps more like the hammers that you carry than a sword, but feels good. You check it. Only one edge to it. The other side is more blunted, thicker.
Mm-hmm. This is a fine gift, my lady. I thank you.
It is no gift. It is a reward for service. One justly done.
He nods and gives her a little bow.
Might I beg of you to leave the hammer here to be displayed?
The black hammer?
Yes. I understand you have one that you favor yourself, but I would prefer that there is a symbol that traders may look upon before they are killed.
I think that is an excellent choice, my lady.
And you may pass it off to Sir Gwgan and ask him to return it to the armory when he's done.
Very well.
One last thing.
Yes.
Santoro's father performed a unusual service for my husband and for the realm. I am looking for a replacement for that service. Do you know of any who would be willing and capable of such a job? There have been questionable choices as both successor and predecessor. Recalling Sir Blades underneath the water.
Yeah. and Sir Jaredin.
Yeah, Sir Jaredin.
Um,
I'm an assassin knight. No one will ever know.
I think Kendrick
If you
goes,
have no answer now, think on it. And there may
Yeah.
be none.
I think Kendrick remembers back to and wishes that Herawd were still here. He says, no one jumps to mind immediately, my lady. I should take some time to think about it, but I believe I'll have to speak with one of my brothers to see if I believe he is capable, but whether he is willing to do such a thing, we shall see.
Very well. Take the hammer now to Gwgan. I will watch over the dispensement of justice, but I do not think it should be delivered by my hand.
Very well.
She heads out to, wow, I'm so flippant about this. She heads out to the murder ground to just wait with whatever court members want to go out with her. Normally her husband would do this, but there's no one else, so he has to watch over these men basically get their heads bashed in.
So what I think I'll actually do is, because, obviously I'll follow the instruction because it's my job, but because I'm a bit more merciful, I will have the men each brought to the chapel first where they can make a final confession, and the priest will come out and will cut their heads off and they can get last rites. And then I'll have their heads tarred and put on pikes to display what happens to traitors.
Okay, so we're not going to bash their
not gonna
heads.
He
smash them,
specifically wants to use the hammer.
I thought it was just like...
No, she did want to use the hammer, but I love the idea that you go to find Gwgan with the hammer and he's already had them all killed. The priest is taking their confessions, and then I don't know that a Christian priest would kill them, but he certainly would have someone in his service who would be glad to stab them in the back.
Well, no, I'll kill them. I'll cut their
you'll
heads
kill
off.
them. Okay, yes.
Yeah, but then I'll make sure that they're tarred and displayed.
What's this priest's name again? Father.
Isn't there a bishop?
Bishop Roger, but that's
Roger.
Yeah, but so Roger is Uther's confessor. Roderick's confessor, Father Tubby, is dead. So probably it's just like some local, priest from somebody else's, like one knight's family was like, oh, we'll loan you our guy because your guy's dead.
There's Father Gwgan, who is my priest.
Okay, so it's him, and he's sitting down with these men who know that they're going to die because they've heard the dudes before them who've confessed get murdered, and he's just like, I'm so sorry, my son. Here, I always take a little bit of the alcohol with me. I brought the good stuff. Actually, you should get some of this Duplain's wine. It's pretty good this year. The winter berries were fantastic, and it's a little aged here. There you go. Just let it all out. I'm sure Sir Gwgan will make it quick. All right, now let's get your confession, young man. And then, like, when they're done, Gwgan kills him, and then the next guy comes in, and he's just like, all right, you know the drill. Let's sit down, get you a drink.
I mean, you got to keep coming out because you got to give last rites as well after each one dies. So.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm skipping over some of the parts I don't know that well.
It's just a continually larger pool of blood that they're like neatly.
Wow, I have some really dark jokes that I'm going to skip over.
Gallows humor, would you say?
Wow. Well timed, sir. Well timed. Certainly, it's funnier and less controversial than what I was going to say.
We're coming off a break strong.
We're halfway through the nap break. This is 30 minutes in. We have less than 15 minutes left in this episode. You can't say that you can't say we're. Oh yeah, I thought this is a pretty good episode so far.
I think so too.
But I planned the imagery around the duel pretty well, and then Glimo obliged me with some fucking crits, and then the 11-11 roll was pretty sick as well. A perfect duel. Yeah, I mean, you arrive with the Black Hammer and the men are already dead. Their heads are being tarred and put up on pikes, and it doesn't play out exactly like how the Countess wanted, but judgment and justice are done in her name and in the name of God. And then there was the Pentecost. Unless there's anything you'd like to do, like maybe go home or talk to anybody before the Pentecost.
Kinnead will go home and see his Uncle Krieg. And just, it's done. It's over. You needn't worry about that side of the family.
They got Harfin?
No. Harfin and the children are missing.
Doesn't sound like it's done. You want my advice? You're a little busy. Wraith, Mifi, and Fawn aren't the worst hunters in the world. Better to be sure. No need to have problems for your children. Tell me, have you ever heard the tragedy of Mufasa the Wise?
I will bow to your judgment, and Kinnead will dispatch his cousins to
Kill a woman and her children.
I would say
Find a woman and her children.
Find, yeah,
Okay.
like he's if Harfin happened to meet with an unfortunate end while she was being brought in, aw shucks, but
Are you
he's
intimating
not,
that to Braith?
yes.
Okay. I just want to be clear about this. You indicate to Braith that she should meet an unfortunate end before she is brought back for justice. It's going to happen.
But that the he's not going to murder his 8-year-old and under nieces and nephews.
Okay. Wow, look at how perfectly that's in keeping with the terms of the duel under which Harfin was not covered.
Exactly.
I was testing you to see if you were going to follow the duel terms, and you did, which is unfortunate for me because I thought I could trick you into murdering a bunch of kids. How Arthurian of you to follow your stupid moral code. Chivalry.
I think Kendric is also going to go home, but seeing as Laverstock is sort of on the way, he's going to stop in to see Sir Kinnead.
You meet with Kinnead as Braith, Mifi, and Fawn are leaving. 3 dames on horses with no squires, traveling as fast as possible. Cloaked riders.
Cloaked riders on the road.
Grey cloaks, really.
They should probably check St Albans. I can see, mother and children trying to flee to the safety of a convent where the Queen's staying.
Sir Kinnead.
Kendric, I was hoping we would have a chance to chat privately.
Yes, you're congratulations on winning what is quite possibly one of the best duels I've ever seen.
High praise coming from you, my friend. Thank you.
While I was speaking with the Countess, there is an opportunity that I think you might be a good fit for. There is a position available of a problem solver for the Countess. It's been filled by reckless knights before. I feel as though you have a good temperament for it, and you're certainly skilled enough with the blade. I
was thinking you were going to suggest Naroon for that.
I think he is perhaps too excessive. It's called the shall we say enthusiasm of the previous holder has caused some issues in the past. But if you're willing, I would suggest you to the Countess for the opening.
So hold on. Knied doesn't know anything about Jaredin. While you know about Jaredin, and
Yes.
he doesn't know anything about Jaredin. So
Right.
He doesn't even know Jaredin was the last holder of the title.
Yeah. I mean, rightfully so. Right?
So I just want to make it clear that when you say that, Knied would not be unusual for him to be like, I don't know what should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would serve the county and serve the Countess in a similar way to what you just did, but on a probably less spectacle, with less spectacle and less pomp and less circumstance, more of solving problems with the edge of a blade.
My fear here is that I don't know who most recently had this role, but I do know that Sir Lycus Santoro's father had it previously.
Yes.
That was a not so well guarded secret within our family.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I worry that after just killing Santoro, that putting me in that position might cause some issues. I also think that given Dame Titania's suggestion that increasing my stature in the kingdom would be probably a better use for the Countess.
that is
and frankly, I don't have the shall we say political machinations that my half-brother did. I feel that in order to take that role, that's probably a piece I'm missing.
It did work as a partnership in the past, I believe, but I understand, and I agree with some of your points. I will find someone else to recommend the Countess.
And if you're just looking for butchery done, I'd see Naroon was the first name that came to the top of my head, but as you say, if you're looking for something more surgical, well,
I think it's someone who needs to be capable of both.
One thing I did want to mention to you, perhaps more obvious to me because of our shared background, but you may want to watch how you comport yourself around Titania if you don't want the rumor mill to be churning.
I shall be certain, yes.
I know how it can be when the madness takes one of us, and just want to make sure that nothing happens that might bring embarrassment upon you. So I was glad that I could catch you away from some of our more Christian brothers who might not understand.
I appreciate that, Sir Khalid. I will see you at the Pentecostal feast.
Absolutely.
As this scene fades, we cut to Herawd. Slightly elongated fangs, slightly pointy-tipped ears, looking around after sneezing and going, huh? I think someone said my name, grandfather. As he just has a weird sort of Cockneyish accent now that I'm not going to do, but he's becoming more and more fairy as every day passes. And that's it. That's the end of this episode. How are we feeling about this episode, number 22, guys?
That's good.
I loved it.
Yeah. That's a good one to come back on, I think.
Great. Next episode will actually start year 496 as scripted in the campaign.
But
it felt important.
Zero progress on the campaign storyline and all focus on the characters, which is good.
But that I think is my promise for this game, because there are some years where basically nothing happens, and there are some years where it's improbable that the players will see any of the events. It's just like, all right, well, if you somehow accidentally were Christian enough to attend this event and can roll 3 20s, you're capable of hearing about how this knight who isn't you got to do a really cool thing. And I'm like, yeah, we're probably going to skip this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to deviate too far from the book, although I obviously have some things planned. But these stories that you guys tell about your characters are more important for me. And I was like, I think that we should have a duel, and we should have a duel that encapsulates chivalry, and one that kind of shows the different facets of chivalry, because obviously Khalid and Santoro are both knights, and I hesitate to say this, Santoro is, from a certain older point of view, an honorable knight. His turning down of Ellen isn't unusual in this time period. And in other counties, he would rise far, but not this one. In this county, his chivalry is as dead as he is. For now.
So I think that, just going back to what you said before, I remember there's definitely a scene in the Great Pendragon campaign where the players encounter somebody that Lancelot has a destiny with in the future. And Lancelot has to do something that only Lancelot can do. And it's like, the players can attempt to do it if you want. They just need to roll 3 30-plus rolls in a row, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
And my players managed to get 2 of the 3 done. But what's funny is that although the book says they can do it with these 3 impossible rolls, it doesn't necessarily happen if they do. It doesn't tell you what to do if they somehow usurp Lancelot's role in the story.
That's the problem with the writing of this era in the tabletop RPG community. It suffers from the time period it was created. It's a beautiful work of art that is also a period piece.
Very much so.
Although it is like one of those period pieces where you look back and you go, the works of the old great masters.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep going back with that until you see a guy drawing cave pictures on a wall. Goes,
I'm the best.
History's first artist.
Yeah.
There's a similar era. I've got an old Call of Cthulhu adventure book where they used to have all the NPCs would have like skills that aren't on the skill list.
Yeah.
Just like and the classic example was there was 2 guard dogs and they had a skill bark at strangers 74%. And I was wondering, like, what happens if a dog fails that roll? There's a 26% chance they will fail to bark at strangers. What does that mean? That
sounds like they don't bark.
Yeah. I mean, my dog does that about 26% of the time, and I think that also fits with the Cthulhu mythos that, like, okay, something strange is happening and the dog just doesn't notice.
You're saying something strange in the neighborhood? Who are you going to call?
The dog that doesn't bark at strangers.
No, you ruined it. All right.
I know, fine. I did.
I'm retreating now into the west. How many Lord of the Rings references can we cram into one episode?
About as many as we can Star Wars references.
I got a Lion King reference in there.
Yeah.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
I threw into our group chat a Star Wars Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, the 8,000-year-old elf.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget someone describing Rings of Power as Elrond and one of the other elves just being like, "Okay, Grandma, come on, let's get your boomer ass back to the hospital." No, I swear, Sauron is real. He's coming.
One of my favorite Lord of the Rings things is still, because Hugo Weaving played Elrond, that someone did Elrond's lines delivered as they were delivered by Agent Smith.
I watched an incredible video today that was the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise if it was Anakin Skywalker's doctoral dissertation. It's like 4 minutes long, and Palpatine starts with like, "Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" And Anakin's like, "Yes, I have actually. I did my doctoral dissertation on it with an emphasis on these things." And Palpatine's like, "How did you hear it?" He's like, "Oh, Master Windu told me." Oh my god, he's like, the dichotomy of the story is really the crux of the issue. Palpatine's like, "No, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that I killed my master." It was so funny. Okay, let's look at the schedule here to see when we're playing next.
I think we're playing next week, yes?
Are we? Because I know it gets a little loopy for a while there.
No, we are here next week. We're not here the following week, and the following week is when I'm going to do Blood Bowl with Spoon and Omar.
Well. So the 20th, but not the 27th.
Correct.
And then we're back on the 3rd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. We could have more episodes. It's highly probable.
Any of you guys fans of the film Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a local cinema here on the 2nd of February is doing cinema showing of Blade Runner with a live orchestra doing the music.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The conductor has an opportunity to make several scenes funnier. That's all I've said.
I've done it before. They stick with the music. But I've done it. They did Raiders of the Lost Ark with the John Williams soundtrack done by a live orchestra.
Raiders of the Lost Ark with a live audience has to be incredible. You know, when they hit that,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
If you eat pasta and antipasta, you're still hungry.
Given that antipasta isn't the opposite of pasta, yes.
Wait, you are still hungry?
I mean, antipasta is specifically an appetizer dish.
Yeah.
And pasta, when served in the Italian style, isn't the American style huge heaping on your plate.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
It's just part of an entree and an appetizer dish. I mean, I wouldn't be. I would still be hungry. You might be satiated by pasta and antipasta.
Part of a 7-course meal.
There you go. It's a good episode. It
was a great episode. I'm remembering how the system works. Thank you to everyone for helping me remember how the system works.
And we all helped each other, and
Yeah.
we did the combat correct for once. I was surprised because I was like, "Damn, I'm gonna fuck up this duel real badly."
Mostly.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong, James? What did I do wrong?
When one person's knocked down, they still get a roll, but the standing person gets +5 and the defending person gets -5. So
I thought when you were standing up, you don't get any rolls.
No, you can
I
choose
thought you have to use your
defend.
whole action to stand up.
You can stand defensively, where basically they still get the +5, you get the -5, but then you get +10 as though you're taking a regular defensive action. But you can still fight while standing up, and it's your -5 and their +5.
I didn't remember that. I swear I'm right about the spears, though.
You are. I
The
says
spear
yes, you
shatter
are.
on damage, not on
Yes,
Yeah,
attack.
on damage,
that is
not on-
correct.
You know,
We'll
you're right there.
trade that, James. Perfectly balanced as all things should be.
I'll never go with the Marvel reference. Well, on.
Yeah, I said Kinnead stood up with the 3-point Iron Man stand earlier.
I don't know if that's fair. Okay.
I'm trying to keep the references coming hot and fast while also keeping the classic Arthurian legend alive. All right? I let the duel be serious. Everything else is normal AP fuckery, okay?
And I didn't jump at the time with the comment about standing up because I thought that what was going on was better anyway. It was like a
Okay.
bit more with.
I want you to know, James, I also clocked that and I also kept it to myself.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that you guys let me do it wrong.
Yeah, but we made sure we called you out later on. I'll still.
But it was
still
more
on
dramatic.
camera.
It was more
Yeah,
dramatic.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well,
Style over substance every time.
just remember, when you come back next week, it's car crash noise. 12 men. That's it. We're out.